feel about me, David? How do you feel about all this, David? I have a right to know, don't I?
Think about your single favorite television character from the 80s or 90s. The one you quoted at school, the one whose poster was on your wall, the one you genuinely grieved when the show ended. Now, imagine someone else playing that role. A completely different face, a completely different energy, a completely different everything. Because here's the thing, it almost happened. Over and over again, the TV shows you grew up loving were one audition, one rejected phone call, one breakfast meeting, away from becoming something completely unrecognizable. Hi, my name is Aaron, and this is Old TV Cinema. Number 10, John Travolta. Almost played Sam Malone in Cheers 1. That sounds completely insane and somehow gets more insane the longer you think about it. When NBC was developing Cheers in 1982, the role of Sam Malone, the charming, dim, lovable ex-pitcher who owned a Boston bar, was not written for Ted Danson. It was being actively pursued for John Travolta. Travolta was coming off Grease and Saturday Night Fever. He was one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. And for a hot minute, NBC wanted him badly enough to seriously pursue the conversation. The problem was simple. Travolta wanted movie money for a television job, and NBC wasn't going to pay it. Negotiations collapsed. Danson, who was largely known for small film and TV roles at the time, came in and read for the part. The rest is history. Sam Malone became one of the most beloved characters in television history, and Ted Danson became a legend. Cheers ran for 11 seasons, won 22 Emmy Awards, and is still considered one of the greatest sitcoms ever made. With Travolta, it might have been bigger out of the gate, but would it have lasted? Probably not. Travolta had movie star energy. Sam Malone needed someone who felt like he actually lived in that bar. Danson lived in that bar. Number 9, Moonlighting. Almost didn't have Bruce Willis. Here's one for anyone who thinks network executives always know what they're doing. Spoiler, they don't. When ABC was developing Moonlighting in 1985, a detective dramedy built around the unlikely chemistry between a model-turned detective agency owner and her wisecracking investigator, the network wanted a safe choice for the male lead. A recognizable face, a known TV commodity, someone with a resume. Bruce Willis had none of those things. He was a bartender with a handful of small credits, and an attitude that made network suits nervous. Sybil Shepherd wanted him anyway. She pushed hard, and eventually the network relented. Willis got the role of David Addison, and within one season, he was the most talked about new face on television. Moonlighting made him a star, and 2 years later, he walked onto the set of Die Hard. Think about that chain of events. No Sybil Shepherd going to bat for an unknown bartender, no David Addison, no John McClane. The entire action movie landscape of the late 80s potentially evaporates, all because a network wanted someone safer. Networks always want someone safer. Networks are almost always wrong. Number 8, Jeff Goldblum auditioned for George Costanza. I need you to stop what you're doing and fully absorb this one. Jeff Goldblum auditioned for the role of George Costanza on Seinfeld. Jeff Goldblum as George, the neurotic, unsweaty, bald, lying, cheap, spectacular disaster of a human being that Jason Alexander made into one of the most iconic characters in television history. Now, look, I love Jeff Goldblum. Everyone loves Jeff Goldblum, but Jeff Goldblum as George Costanza is a completely different show. The energy is different, the dynamic with Jerry is different. Honestly, the whole thing falls apart. Alexander brought this desperate, pathetic sincerity to George that made you root for him, even when he was being genuinely terrible. Goldblum would have made George cool, which is the one thing George Costanza should never, under any circumstances, be. Seinfeld ran for 9 seasons and is still considered the gold standard of observational comedy. Would it have made it past season 2 with a cool George? I genuinely don't think so. And that thought is more upsetting to me than I expected it to be when I sat down to write this script. Number 7, John Cusack turned down the Ferris Bueller TV series. Yes, there was a Ferris Bueller television series. Yes, it premiered in 1990 on NBC. Yes, it was exactly as questionable as that sounds. And yes, John Cusack was approached to play the lead before wisely, professionally, and at great speed declining the offer. Now, to be fair to Cusack, he also turned down the original film role that went to Matthew Broderick. So his relationship with the Ferris Bueller universe was complicated from the start. But the TV version was a different animal entirely. The show lasted 12 episodes. It was largely forgotten within a year. Then it featured a fourth wall breaking Ferris, who spoke directly to camera in a way that felt more exhausting than charming. The guy who eventually got the role did his best with material that wasn't doing him any favors. Cusack, meanwhile, was building a film career that would include Say Anything, Gross Point Blank, and High Fidelity. So, honestly, good call, John. Sometimes the best casting decision you ever make is the one where you close the folder and go home. Number 6. Dana Carvey. Almost played Chandler Bing.
I'm not your best friend?
You just said... Of course you're my best friend.
This one has a butterfly effect so enormous it makes my head hurt. When Friends was being cast in 1994, the role of Chandler Bing, the sarcastic, self-deprecating, could this be any more awkward office drone, was not locked in for Matthew Perry. Dana Carvey, fresh off his Saturday Night Live run and riding the wave of Wayne's World, was considered a serious frontrunner. Carvey passed. The reasons vary depending on who's telling the story, but the result was the same. Matthew Perry walked in and the character found its voice. Here's the thing about Chandler Bing. The role required a very specific flavor of insecurity wrapped in sarcasm. Perry had that in his bones. Carvey is a genius, but he's a chameleon. He disappears into characters. Chandler Bing needed someone whose personal energy was the character, and Perry delivered that every single week for 10 seasons. Friends became the defining sitcom of the 90s. Chandler and Joey became the heart of the show. And none of it lands the same way with a different actor in that apartment. Some roles find their actors. Next, Chandler found Matthew Perry. Number 5. Michael Keaton was offered. Alex P. Keaton in Family Ties. The name alone should have been a clue. When Family Ties was being developed in 1982, the role of Alex P. Keaton, the Reagan-loving, tie-wearing, conservative teenage son in a house full of former hippies, was offered to Michael Keaton. He passed. Michael J. Fox came in, got the role, and almost immediately became the most compelling reason to watch the show. What was supposed to be an ensemble about the parents became, week after week, the Alex P. Keaton Hour. Fox was magnetic. Now, Michael Keaton went on to have a pretty solid career. You may have heard of a little film called Batman, so it's hard to feel too bad for him. But the parallel universe where Keaton takes Family Ties and Fox never becomes a household name is genuinely strange to contemplate. Fox parlayed that role directly into Back to the Future. Back to the Future becomes one of the highest grossing film franchises of the decade. The entire trajectory changes. Keaton made one decision at one table in one meeting, and the ripple effects are still washing up on shore 40 years later.
To me tonight. Go ahead, I'm listening. Oh, I know.
Number 4. Howie Mandel was seriously considered for Bart Simpson. The casting of Bart Simpson in 1989 was, by all accounts, a circus. The producers were looking for a voice that captured the specific chaos of a 10-year-old boy who has never once in his life considered the consequences of his actions. Several names were floated. Howie Mandel was among them. Now, Howie Mandel is genuinely funny and had real voice work experience, so this wasn't a crazy idea on paper. But then Nancy Cartwright walked in. Cartwright had come in to audition for the role of Lisa. She read the character breakdown for Bart, decided on the spot that Bart was the role she wanted, and proceeded to perform an entire scene as the character before anyone had technically given her permission to do so. The producers were stunned. She was hired that day. Cartwright's Bart is one of the most distinctive character voices in television history. The show has run for over 35 years. It changed animation, changed primetime television, and changed the culture. All because one woman walked into the wrong audition and refused to leave. Honestly, that's the most Bart Simpson origin story imaginable. Boss number 3, the original. Mork was not. Robin Williams. Here's one most people don't know. When Mork first appeared on Happy Days in 1978 as a one-off alien character visiting Richie Cunningham, the role was not written for Robin Williams. Another actor had already been cast. He came in, did his read, and it was fine. Perfectly acceptable, network-friendly, and completely, utterly wrong for the character. The producers watched the audition tape, and something wasn't clicking. The alien needed to feel genuinely unpredictable, like anything could happen at any moment. Robin Williams came in, and the entire room changed. He sat in the chair and immediately started improvising, riffing, bouncing off the walls in ways nobody had scripted or anticipated. The producers reportedly didn't know whether to laugh or call security. Away, they cast him on the spot. Mork and Mindy premiered in 1978 and was an immediate phenomenon. Williams became a star, then a superstar, then something beyond that. The original casting would have given audiences a perfectly decent alien. Williams gave them something that had never existed before on television. There's a version of this story where the first guy keeps the role, and Robin Williams spends the 80s doing stand-up in small clubs. That version of the world is a significantly sadder place. Number 2, Tom Hanks. Almost stayed in television. This one is less a single near miss and more a fork in the road that could have redirected one of the most important careers in Hollywood history. In the early 1980s, Tom Hanks was a television actor. He'd done Bosom Buddies, he was doing guest spots, and he was actively being considered for several ongoing television roles that would have kept him locked into the medium for years. The timing was everything. Had any of those deals closed, had any of those series picked up and run, Hanks might have been too committed, too contractually tangled to take the film roles that changed his trajectory. Instead, the series didn't pan out, the deals didn't close, and Hanks pivoted to film, landing splash in 1984, then big in 1988, and then eventually 2 consecutive Academy Awards, and a career that defined the 90s and beyond. Television would have been lucky to have him, but the movies needed him more. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is the job that falls through. Min number 1, John Lithgow. Almost walked out of that breakfast meeting. We've talked about this one on this channel before, and I make absolutely no apology for bringing it up again, because it is the perfect encapsulation of how thin the line is between the television we got and the television that almost was. When Bonnie and Terry Turner sat down with John Lithgow at the Four Seasons in 1995 to pitch him the lead role in Third Rock from the Sun, Lithgow heard the words 4 aliens and immediately started planning his exit. He was a serious actor, 2 Oscar nominations, Broadway, Shakespeare. He did not do sitcoms, but the Turners kept talking, and the more they talked, the more Lithgow heard something he hadn't expected. A genuinely original premise, an absurdist satire about the human condition, a role that required everything he had. He stayed in that chair, he took the role, he won 3 Emmy Awards. He turned Dick Solomon into one of the most brilliantly physical, emotionally layered comedic performances in television history. And he launched the career of a 14-year-old named Joseph Gordon-Levitt, sitting across the set from him every day. All of it, every single bit of it, almost didn't happen because a serious actor heard the word aliens and wanted to leave before the eggs arrived. And that's the thing about television, isn't it? The shows that shaped you, the characters that felt like old friends, the moments you still quote 30 years later, all of it was one decision away from never existing. One rejected offer, one past audition, one breakfast meeting that almost ended before it started. The television we grew up with wasn't inevitable. It was a miracle, assembled from 1,000 near misses and last-minute saves. If you want more deep dives into the shows that made us who we are, subscribe to Old TV Cinema and drop in the comments. Which one of these hit you hardest? I already know my answer. It's the eggs. It's always the eggs.